Man, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of EOS. It's 1090 Jake, man. I'm rocking with y'all rocking with me. And for this video, we're going to be speaking on a 78-year-old man that was gunned down, run over, and left for dead in a parking lot. All because a young Orlando couple wanted to steal his Mercedes. January 30th, 2022, Orange County sheriffs in Orlando, Florida received multiple 911 calls for an elderly man that had been shot, run over, and left for dead in a CVS parking lot. Arriving on scene, it was 3:21 p.m. when deputies found the victim bleeding out from multiple gunshot wounds, with parts of his body appearing to have been crushed. EMS transported the victim to the hospital, and only 38 minutes later, he was pronounced dead. He was identified as 78-year-old Yukon Cummings, a father of 4 and grandfather of 10. Homicide investigators and forensic units began investigating the crime scene, finding 5 spent shell casings with a manufacturer's stamp reading PSD 21. They were either .223 or .556 caliber bullets, meaning not only was an elderly man gunned down in broad daylight, he was gunned down with rifle rounds. The crime scene itself was centered around a parking space with aggressive tire marks left on the pavement, indicating a vehicle had backed out rapidly before fleeing. The victim's blood had been streaked by the tire marks, and a shell casing was found partially run over. One witness at the scene described hearing gunshots, then seeing a silver Mercedes SUV aggressively backing out of a parking spot, running someone over as they backed out, then running over the person again as they drove off. The witness compared the victim's body to a speed bump. Another witness described seeing a light-skinned black female with a striped shirt and bun hairstyle opening the door of the Mercedes before getting in and running the victim over. Surveillance video from the CVS showed a black male loitering on the sidewalk. He was wearing black tights with shorts, a black hoodie, a black ski mask, and black and yellow retro 12 Jordans with a backpack. He appeared to be watching cars as the victim pulled into the parking lot, driving past him and parking off camera. The victim can then be seen walking into view and entering the CVS to go pick up his prescription. The masked male waited for the victim to exit before following him back to his Mercedes off camera. Within the next 60 seconds, the Mercedes was seen driving off at a high rate of speed. The day of the murder, the victim's adult children were notified of what took place, as police described it as a carjacking murder. Mr. Cummings had moved to Florida in 2003 after retiring from his 40-year career as a security officer in New York. He also had a concealed carry permit in the state of Florida and regularly carried a 9mm handgun. Investigators learned from his family it was less than a year ago when his wife had passed away. The next day, investigators attended the autopsy of Mr. Cummings, finding he'd suffered a gunshot wound to his left arm and both sides of his chest, causing fatal arterial bleeding. 2 projectiles were removed from his chest, and they were green-tipped .223 bullets. Mr. Cummings also suffered significant crush injuries, including multiple broken ribs, broken collarbones, a crushed spine. His lungs had ruptured, along with his aorta, the main artery that carries blood from the heart. As the autopsy was concluded, the victim's Mercedes was found parked in an apartment complex in Daytona Beach. The vehicle was left unlocked, keys inside, and hazard lights on in what investigators believe was an attempt to invite another thief to steal the vehicle. February 1st, 2 days after the murder, Orlando investigators were notified of 20 smash and grab vehicle burglaries occurring on the 29th of January. A helicopter followed several vehicles from the scene of the crime to the residence of a known burglary suspect, Mandel Stewart. One of the vehicles was a blue Honda Civic that was left in an apartment complex walking distance from the murder scene. The Civic was registered to and owned by a 25-year-old female named Jasmine Monroe, who was a suspect in 14 smash and grab vehicle burglaries in Tampa, Florida. She'd apparently rented the getaway vehicle with her own driver's license. The investigation into the property crimes involved Mandel, Jasmine, and her 19-year-old boyfriend Javon White, who was the cousin of Mandel. Javon and Mandel could be seen in multiple pictures on social media together that have now been taken down, and a recent selfie of Mandel was taken inside of a blue Honda Civic. A video posted only hours after the murder of Mr. Cummings showed both Mandel and Javon dancing with AR-15s, capable of being concealed in the backpack worn by the shooter. A search warrant was executed on Jasmine's blue Honda Civic that had been taken into custody since the vehicle burglaries. Inside were debit cards in the name of Javon White along with blue shorts. When the shorts were picked up, a live green tip rifle bullet fell from the pocket. 4 days after the murder, investigators found a TikTok account belonging to Javon White showing 2 videos, one of which displayed the same black and yellow Jordans worn by the shooter and seen on surveillance video. An Instagram account linked to the TikTok account was found to belong to Javon, and Mandel's Instagram account stories displayed multiple firearms and cannabis only hours after the murder took place, tagging Javon in the post with a caption reading, "We don't tolerate no disrespect. Put your ass past the sun." 4 days after the murder, detectives obtained surveillance video from the Domino's Pizza in the same plaza as the murder scene. Both Jasmine Monroe and Javon White could be seen purchasing food roughly 40 minutes before the murder took place. That same day, detectives conducted surveillance at the apartment rented by Jasmine in Orlando. Both Jasmine and Javon could be seen on the balcony of the apartment, but by the time a search warrant was signed, they'd already left, getting into a white vehicle driven by friends. Javon could be seen leaving with the open backpack, partially displaying an AR-15 pistol. Detectives followed the vehicle before pulling it over and detaining Jasmine and Javon, and then towing the vehicle. The search warrant was conducted on the apartment, and the exact outfit worn by the shooter, as seen on surveillance video, was recovered. The Nissan Altima Jasmine and Javon were riding in was then searched, recovering an AR pistol chambered in .223. A second magazine was found loaded with 16 rounds of green tip .223 bullets, matching the ammunition from the murder. A black 9mm Taurus handgun would also be found laying next to Javon's backpack with an extended magazine. Jasmine was interviewed by investigators, identifying both herself and Javon inside of the Domino's when shown the surveillance video. She confirmed they walked to the CVS shortly after, where he told her to wait in the parking lot as he walked to the entrance. She saw him walking and talking with the victim when the victim turned towards Javon with the gun in his hand. Jasmine told investigators that's when she heard shots, and she knew Javon had been carrying his AR-15 in his backpack. Initially saying she drove the Mercedes, she changed her story saying she was only a passenger, never drove it, and denied knowledge of a carjacking. She then said Javon told her he only shot the man because he pointed a gun at him, but detectives argued it, saying it was highly unlikely Javon would be able to pull out his AR-15 from his backpack and fire 5 shots when the victim already had his gun drawn. To that, Jasmine agreed. Although she lived 2 minutes from the murder scene, she acknowledged leaving in the Mercedes with Javon and driving to Daytona Beach, where the vehicle was found abandoned. She stated Javon changed his clothes to avoid identification, and she went as far as throwing her clothes in a dumpster with the help of a friend she refused to name. Javon was taken into an interview room and advised of his potential charges, to which he engaged in a hypothetical discussion about what charges he would face if he approached someone because he liked their car. He admitted to being at the Domino's, then walking to CVS and approaching the victim about his vehicle. He claimed he was in the victim's personal space when the victim pulled a gun, so he shot in self-defense. His only explanation for being able to draw his AR-15 and fire 5 shots before the victim was able to fire 1 was he wasn't fast enough. He admitted to panicking because he was illegally carrying the AR-15, so him and Jasmine used the victim's Mercedes as a getaway vehicle. He admitted the AR-15 they'd recovered was the same one he shot the 78-year-old victim with, and he initially claimed he found the 9mm Taurus while walking, until he was confronted with a picture with the firearm shortly after the murder. It was determined he'd stolen the gun from the victim. Javon attempted to claim responsibility for the incident to reduce the chances of Jasmine being charged, not even knowing Jasmine had already thrown him under the bus. Based on the facts and evidence from the investigation, Javon and Jasmine were charged with first-degree felony murder and carjacking with a firearm. Additionally, Jasmine was charged with tampering with evidence after throwing away her clothes. The two are now facing a possible death sentence under Florida law. Now, this is a horrible case because, anyone, regardless of race, regardless of anything, that 78-year-old man could have been anybody's grandfather, could have been anybody's father. To hear that he lost his wife less than a year ago, and then he's killed over the vehicle that he's driving as he's picking up his prescription. He worked 40 years to be able to drive that Mercedes that he owned. And a 19-year-old that most likely never worked a day in his life and has a history of breaking into cars, smashing windows, and stealing bullshit with his girlfriend, thought that he could snatch that vehicle from that man and in the process snatch that man's life. And you can tell this kid's fucking retarded because he's driving around days later with the same fucking gun, with the same fucking bullets. Why do you need to carry 2 magazines with an AR pistol in a backpack? Who do you got smoke with? Because his parents own a fucking, it's like a car wash, car detailing type business. But his parents have a fucking job. His mother cooks food and sells it through Instagram and Facebook and shit. And his father washes cars, but they actually fucking work. Why can't you follow suit? You want to just steal people's shit. Doesn't make any sense. We already know the girl's a bum. She's 25 dating a 19-year-old. I don't know if she just lived a boring life and wanted to turn it up with somebody that's young. But now her stupid ass is facing a possible death sentence. I don't know if the state is going to pursue death. Most likely not, because I doubt they went into the crime with the intent on killing the man. But a life sentence is most likely how this is going to end. It's a fucking shame. And to be as bold as killing a man, stealing his car, stealing his gun, and then taking pictures with the gun after the fact, it makes me think that this kid must have never done any gangster shit before. Gangster, involving guns, shooting at people, this and that. Because he was so happy he did this and then got tagged in a post saying he'll send you past the sun. He was so happy with his accomplishment that he decided to take a picture with the trophy. And now all this evidence is falling back on him. But you know he's not a gangster because the first thing he does is admit to everything. Hypothetically, what do y'all think I'm facing? Yeah, that was me here and that was me here, but I only shot him because he pulled a gun out on me. Probably because you're walking up on him with a fucking mask, right? That's not suspicious. Everybody wants to walk around looking like Pooh Shiesty, but then when someone looks at you suspicious, oh, you're discriminating against me while I'm fucking masked up. That doesn't make any fucking sense. You know what you look like and you're trying to look like that for a reason. You want the image. Well, this is what comes with that image. He ain't getting out no time soon. He's gonna be in there for most likely the next year or two unless he pleads out. And he'll most likely get banned along with the female that admitted to fucking everything except for who the friend was that helped her throw away her clothes. Why even mention the friend if you're not even gonna mention the name? But hey, it's 1090 Jake. Rest in peace to Mr. Cummings. I'm rocking with y'all rocking with me. Till next time.